Hey folks, Chris Jardine here, aka Snaggle J, back with another episode of your favorite podcast slash OOTP related program. It's the Big Red Machine. We're gonna do a bit of a off seasonal recap of what has happened with the Reds. I'll admit it's been relatively uneventful. But we're going to go through a few of the moves that we did make and give a little context behind them. And I'm going to wade into the Amoto stuff a little bit. I don't want to go too far down that road, but considering how groundbreaking that deal is, I do want to give my 2 cents on it a little bit. So we went into the offseason after arguably it is statistically the worst season in Reds franchise history. But the thing is, you know what? It's not dire straits. We have a very solid offensive core. Obviously, we continue to need to have to make improvements on the pitching side. That was something I was very, very conscious of. But offensively, we had all of the pieces kind of in place. And in fact, I feel like we had a few too many pieces. I still feel like I have a few too many pieces, and we are actively trying to move, guys who are ready to go and blocked and trying to, flip those guys into positions of need. But overall, I feel like the team has improved with some of the moves we made over the offseason. So we get to the end of the season. Really, the only option sort of thing that we had to deal with was Eli Stutz, who had a player option. He executed said player option, which I'm not surprised, and then he promptly died. He has dropped 15 points of stuff in a month. God. So this is a guy we got from, the A's. It didn't work out in the rotation. We moved him into the bullpen, saw, a pretty good improvement because in the bullpen, he was up to 65. I think he was at 70 stuff maybe at one point. As 7 against lefties, I think. But yeah, just he died. He has died. So we're kind of footing the bill here. He's lost, 4 to 5 miles an hour on his fastball. He Brendan Murphy'd. But last year of his deal, if we end up releasing him, which is, I would say, not out of the realm of possibility. Again, I mean, he's still, 50, 55, 55 against lefties. I mean, that's just not going to get it done. He is very likely that he could get released, especially if we're able to add another arm here. So we get into November. I hate that these go opposite chronological, by the way. We had a bunch of contract extensions. We had our arbitration guys. So obviously, Farner, Tannen, Brecken, Soriano, Fuqua, we did not offer arbitration to. Pimentel, Filippelli, who never pitched a game for us. Ended up spending the entire season hurt. We didn't offer him arbitration either. We did, offer arb to Ledford, Mullins, Allman, Pape, Zaccone, Andrade, so all get relatively reasonable deals. Zaccone up around almost $4 million. This will probably be it for him. He was pretty good for us last year with a 3.79 ERA, 4.36 FIP, a little positive wins above replacement, but it's likely he's going to end up being, this might be the end for him. Also, not out of the realm of possibility that we maybe give him a try at starter, especially if he can acquire this last 5 points of stuff there. Obviously, he'd probably drop down to a 55 or a 50, but could be a starter option for us. We get up here and, we have some renewals, all of that fun stuff. Guys becoming free agents all over town. A bunch of renewals. We lose Eloy Ibanez in the Rule 5, which I kind of hate. But again, he's so far away. I don't see how this is a guy that Minnesota keeps on their roster all season. Minnesota's a team contending for a World Series championship. I could see this again. And again, I don't want to speak on the Twins' behalf, right? I don't know in depthly what they're doing, but I do have maybe some anticipation that Ibanez could be returned if they're able to find a better option, or if they're willing to eat that spot in the bullpen. Good for them. I didn't want to use a 40-man spot on a guy that was so far away, so good for them. We did take Mark Bressler. Again, he's very much obviously it was the 80 range in center field. He's not a guy we're going to play. I grabbed him mostly because of the range, just to have an option. I'm still on the fence whether or not he will end up making the team, given what we have going on in the outfield right now. So then we made a trade, and actually, is this the first trade we made? Yes. So we made a trade. So we traded Val Menendez, Ronaldo Diaz to the Monarchs, getting back Viriato Senesi, Weldon Young, and Lucas Schwab. So this was, I think, for Cube, a bit of a salary dump coming up to the rollover of the season. Menendez just never really panned out. Obviously, I liked him better. I believe at one point he did have 75 range. I think he did have 75 range at one point. I don't see it right there, but he kind of became a secondary third guy for us. Obviously, he was late 22 when we made the trade, 23 now, and I just think there's a couple guys, Eldon Fastnack especially, kind of surpassed him on the depth chart. Ronaldo Diaz was a guy that we picked up from Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly. Yes, that was in the Ryan McPherson trade, where we got a whole host of guys, most of whom are still kicking around. Diaz was a guy, again, nice little profile, but just I have so many corner outfield guys. I have 5 or 6 on the main roster, and I've got guys in the minors like Lanzalata, Guy Cote, Figueroa, who we drafted last year, who were all kind of chomping at the bit to get major league at bats. So Diaz, a guy for us who was obviously a lot more affordable for the Monarchs, but a guy we could move. We get back. Senesi's not anything super special. Obviously we're hoping for some TCR here as a first baseman. He does have maybe the ability to play third base if absolutely needed. But yeah, there's not a lot, this is more of a stash in a 17-year-old in hopes that, he can hit a TCR. I like Weldon Young. He has been flirting back and forth between 70 and 65 potential movement here. He's sticking with the 70. Obviously, we moved him back into the rotation, which hurt his stuff. But again, I feel like he does have 5 points where he can increase his fastball and his sinker. Obviously, we need a third pitch to develop. This was taking a big chance for us on a guy who could develop into a back of the rotation starter. He's got great stamina. He does have some velocity room, maybe to tick up one, maybe to get this to 40, maybe 45. But again, he's 22. So we were willing to take a chance. And obviously, Lucas Schwab, you know what you're going to get, right? You get a guy who doesn't strike out a lot, puts the ball in play. Again, he has a sub-20 strikeout rate. I think 19.2 last year is the highest ever. He's going to hit, in the high 280s, 270s, and he plays elite defense. Couple of Gold Gloves in right field. Again, this is a guy for us that, at the very least, he becomes a guy that we can trade later on. Obviously, he's got a team option for next year, so we're on the hook for $12.6 million. I like Lucas Schwab. I think he fits into our lineup nicely. Against righties, again, you got that contact, you get a little bit of pop. He doesn't strike out a lot, which, again, we do have some guys in our lineup that are a little more prone to the K. So we'll see. My immediate thought was Lucas Schwab would probably be a flip piece for us. Right now, it's looking like he's going to be our starting right fielder against righties, but we'll see where it goes. There's still, a month and a half in game till the season starts. So that was our first big trade of the offseason. We get up into December, and the other big trade happens. So We trade Cody Modesty to the Rangers. We get Donovan Eisler and Shabazz Green in return. Now, again, when you look at, and this was a discussion that we had a little bit in the Discord, was when you look at the sum of everything here, what I gave up to get Modesty, Siddle, Giannichini, John Head, Clay Walden, Sam Conaboy. The only one of these five, well, the only two of these five that I really believe could come back to bite me in the backside is Siddle if he gets into the right park, which, he's in St. Louis now. So we'll see how he does with the Cards. And obviously John Head. And John Head, now 25, really hasn't realized a lot of that potential. Yes, he hit 23 home runs last year, but he has not realized a whole lot of that potential just yet. I'm not really worried about Clay Walden being an impact major leaguer. I'm not really worried about Sam Conaboy being anything more than a lefty specialist in the bullpen. Obviously, Giannichini at this point is on the verge of retirement. So that's what we gave up for one bad season of Cody Modesty. And easily the worst season of his career, the worst season he had since an abbreviated 2025, and on par with his rookie season where he hit 33 home runs. And that's pretty par for the course for what we get. Obviously, the fan interest is at play here. So what we get in return is, again, something that we desperately need, which is arms. Donovan Eisler, a back of the rotation guy. He's a spark plug. He's a great personality. He's got 60 stamina. He's a 50, 65, 55 guy, 3 good pitches. Again, a guy who could eat innings for us in the back of the rotation. He's relatively affordable at $3.5 million. Obviously, with the ARB increases, that might not be desirable long term. But again, also a guy that we could probably, with the high velo, stick in the bullpen, get him up to 55 or, excuse me, ma'am. My dog is having a moment back there. We could get him up to 55 or 60 stuff and have him be, a swing man in the bullpen, right? Again, a guy that you can probably put out there a lot of the time, not going to hurt you. And then we get Shabazz Green, who's 24. He's a 50, 70, 55 guy. Yes, he's a side armor, and I know, obviously, with the side armors come the big splits. Does that mean that we use him as a follower and have a lefty opener so that we can hopefully get, more righties in the lineup? Time will tell. I think we're in a situation where we're going to have to explore that. But I like what we're getting here with Shabazz Green. Again, a guy, high movement, high control. He in AAA last season had a 2.92 ERA, a 2.84 FIP. So we're going to give him some run. He's probably going to be a number 2-3 guy for us. Again, I think I've been pretty risk averse to side armors since Cornelius Cobb, and that's talking 3-4 years ago. So that's going to be on me to really manage Green and get him into situations where he can be successful by having the 55, 75, 60 play to his advantage. And we're going to see how that works. So, again, obviously Cody Modesty has the ability to go to Texas and hit 50 home runs. In the last year of his deal, that's the other part of this too, right? He's in the last year of his deal, going to be a free agent at the end of the season, assuming that Texas doesn't re-sign him. But it's a possibility that they could. So, again, time will tell if the Cody Modesty flip job for us ends up being a massive waste of time. Had a minor trade here where we traded Santiago Garcia to the Hammers for Henderson Cadillo. So this is basically us trading from a strength. I have a lot of catchers in the organization. It looks like, wow, did he lose 5 catcher ability already? I thought he was a 70. Did he lose that before? Anyway, Garcia's a guy that, we have a lot of different options at catcher, with Grishaber, McCafferty, Siedzinski, McConnell. So this is us trading from a position of strength and getting a guy who could potentially be a big league third baseman. 55, 50, 60, 45, 45. That's nothing to sneeze at. He might get a little love here. The defense is pretty solid. He's a good profile. He's got a high leader. He had a pretty good season in high rookie last year, hitting 281. So this is basically just us trading from a position of strength to, again, our third base ranks had, which is something that used to be a huge strength for us, is something that is now, after trading away several of our third base options, we really don't have that anymore. So that's kind of, what we got going on there. Another deal, obviously Wayne Storm's minor league contract, huge. He's going to be our AA closer. Can't wait. Harvey Nope on a 1 year, $5.5 million deal. I love this for us. 50, 70, 55 guy, 3+ pitches, 70 stamina, so he's going to eat a lot of innings. I feel like, given where the market has gone after the Omoto signing, I feel like getting Nope in there for $5.5 million on a 1 year deal early is a great get for us. Again, he has that ability to eat a lot of innings. Obviously the last year he didn't get a whole lot because he only started 15 games. But you see 160, 180. I could definitely see him eating 175 innings for us, of a sub-5 ERA, which compared to what, in our park and how the NL is, I would take that. So I think this could be a really good value proposition for us. We go into the new year now. It's been pretty quiet. Some minor league signings, moving people around. Obviously, the big one here is Alberto Guardiola, who we signed and we paid a 3-year, $56 million commitment. Wait, is that 56? Yes, it is 56. Yes, my math has not failed me. So we're on the hook here for $41 million with the $5 million buyout. He does have a no trade, but as you can see, he will consider trade to literally every team in the league, which is fine. This is just trying to get the best reliever that we could back end of the pen. I know he's a sidearm guy, but he still pitches very good against lefties. For me, it was between Guardiola and Barto. Barto got to the point where he was being offered 5 and 6 year deals at 15, 16 million. That was too much for me. I would rather pay, again, at the very worst case scenario, we're on the hook for 41 million over 2 years, which we have. He's a fan fave. He's an ex-pop. So we're going to get that boost. This is really just trying to solidify the back end of the bullpen. And, hopefully this works. I like the profile. He's got 50 stamina, so he can pitch multiple innings. I would love, and I'm still drastically on the hunt for a lefty to pair with him, to give us that sort of two-headed monster back there, because he is the side armor and does have that drastic splits, lefty-righty. But I like what we're getting here with Guardiola. Could it end up being, a negative value transaction? Probably. I think any reliever at 18 million per is going to be a negative value transaction, but we'll see. For a team that has been last in runs allowed and pitching metrics every season pretty much since I've taken over, I'm sick of it, and it's time for that to change. Nothing much here other than we get Turd Ferguson getting a $30K minor league deal. We did get a international guy. I did dabble in the international a little bit with the Sheriff, Rico Cadavid. Again, this is just acquiring a pitcher, good profile, 55, 60, 55 guy. Doesn't have a lot of stamina, but we got some room here to go. We'll see where this goes. This is just basically spending money. We do have some irons in the fire. We do have some budget room left. I do have a couple of free agents that I'm still actively chatting with. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you who they are, but we are actively trying to add to this roster prior to opening day, and we'll see. I'm feeling. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say I'm feeling good. I mean, we're coming off a 106 loss season. It's hard to sit here and say, hey, I'm feeling good. Our fan interest is at 77. This time last year, we were in the upper 90s. This is not, where I'm going to start being like, oh, hey, I'm loving this. I mean, obviously, we took a $30 million budget hit. I've had to shred the development budget to be able to spend some of this FA money, which, hey, that's just the cost of doing business. Speaking of the cost of doing business, I do want to take a couple minutes and talk about the Tatashi Amato stuff. This is, in my opinion, one part insanity and one part a heck of a lot of fun. Obviously, Amado's been hyped coming over from Japan in game for multiple years. Everybody's been looking forward to it. Obviously he was by far the best player in Japan for 2 years. Almost 70 homers twice, 22, 23 wins above replacement. He's an X-Pop. He can play short, although the 65 range. Again, this is, I'd play this at short with this bat. Like, I don't think anybody was going to be sneezing at, you can't play 65 range at short. When the guy's probably going to hit, like crazy. He does have a little bit of dev room, and the 20 missing points of contact. I want to say it gives me pause, but we'll see. The big thing here is, $90 million a year over 6 years with a player opt-out and some player option. That's a heck of a lot of money. $90 million is basically almost my entire payroll. If you took Lucas Schwab out of my payroll, you basically have Amato versus my entire team. But here's the thing, and here's what I said to a few people who I was talking to about it privately. This is a game. The game's supposed to be fun. Amato's an absolutely fun player to have on your team. If you can work around this, if you have a big budget, if you can shred the dev money, you could build a team around this. You know what? I think it's great. I think it's perfectly awesome. Again, this is a game. The game's supposed to be fun. Yes, obviously TGS is hyper competitive, and we don't. There is some people who I'm sure think, well, this is basically tanking a team. I don't think that's the case with the Dodgers. I think this is a situation where, hey, I can pay all this money and have one of the most interesting profiles and possibly one of the best players in the league, and give myself the challenge of having to build around that for the next 6 years with, you're never going to get $540 million of value out of Amato. It's not happening. It's just not. That's not, you don't get $90 million of value out of a player. I don't care who it is. But again, this is a game supposed to be fun. You look at, on a smaller scale, one of the reasons why I changed to Great American Ballpark was I wanted to hit more homers. I wanted to have more offense. That's fun to me. And I'm able to use that fun in the sphere of the game and build my team around that. And it created a whole new challenge for me because I had to find power guys and righty guys and continue rebuilding the pitching staff. So I think this is, obviously, the whole bidding war and all of that stuff, it created a lot of buzz. It had an interesting fallout with where FA prices now that he signed are just crazy because so many teams had planned around the possibility of Amato being there. But I think it's great. I think it's fun. I look forward to seeing how the Dodgers do it. Yeah, I just wanted to give a few of my thoughts on that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Big Red Machine. I will be back with sort of a season preview episode once everything's kind of settled down. So that, I guess, will be next week. And until next time, keep swinging for the fences.